how is it going, people? Welcome to the stream, and to be honest, all I can say, it's the way of top spur. That's all I can say, because Tottenham 0, Arsenal 1, set piece FC strikes once again, smash and grab settings, because let's be real, we didn't look great, we didn't look good. Arteta tried to mask every single weakness that could have been there, even though we got exposed on multiple occasions. We still managed, thanks to our defense and goalkeeper, withstand the pressure, hit them on counters, get the job done, and in the end, win the game. Good result for Arsenal, not gonna lie. Good result for Arsenal, because at certain points it was really questionable what would happen, what could happen, and everything. So definitely, in that instance, very good result for Arsenal. 1-0 win, we got the job done, we got it over the line. It was closer than everyone expected, and the longer it was staying 0-0, the more nervous I got, obviously, because I was hoping that we would score early and it kind of could ease the pressure. But at the end, Gabriel, one corner, Saka, Gabriel, 1-0, and we somehow did everything we can in our power to keep it at 1-0. Obviously, at some points we could have been 2-0 up, we could have been also down. So at the end of the day, we got very, in a way you could say lucky, but at the same time, with Kai Havertz's header, let's be real, the ball hits Romero's arm and it falls back straight into Vicario's hands. And if he doesn't hit his hand, it goes pretty much straight to Trossard's empty net tap-in. So we could have been 1-0 up there. Martinelli, selfish. I think he is really badly out of form. Very poorly out of form. Yes, he had some good take-ons. Yes, he had some good dribbles. But still, most of the time, he does the same things that pretty much frustrates everyone. I'm not gonna lie, including myself. Including quite a bit of Arsenal fans. He puts his head down, drops the ball by a defender, and tries to outpace them. Obviously, today it worked quite a bit because it was the high line and everything. As long as they didn't sit very close to the goal line and end of the pitch line, it was actually it was very good for him in that sense. But he got a chance one-on-one. He had a chance to square it to Bukayo Saka for also another empty side tap-in, and he didn't. I think he is very poorly out of form. He tried to do too much than he had to. He has lost quite a bit of confidence, his finishing ability, because he basically did the same thing he does every single time. Opens up his body, tries to finesse it far corner, which, to be honest, let's be real. If you're a goalkeeper, you scout the players you are going to play against, their signature moves, their signature shots. Let's be real, you're gonna see that, because that's Martinelli's go-to move, and often than not he scores goals like that. So it was quite a predictable thing what he's gonna do there. But at the end of the day, he did it, and Vicario saved it. So it wasn't that great. But overall, one of the biggest things for this game was the bench. I'm not gonna lie, the bench was hella awful. I'm not gonna lie, the bench, we had Sterling, we had Jesus, we had one or two more main guys, and the rest of them were, well, teenagers basically. We had under 21s, something like that, under 18s it felt like. And yeah, it really felt like if we were to go down at some point, we didn't have much to change the tides of the game. Let's be real, we didn't have much to change the tides of the game. Luckily it didn't happen. Luckily we actually went 1-0 up and in the end carried out the result till the end and we won the game. So the bench didn't come into play to that such high regard. Now the biggest issue is this bench issue will come into play either on Thursday against Atalanta or on next weekend when we are playing Manchester City. But at the moment we are not focusing for that far ahead, we are focusing on today. And despite the circumstances, despite everything, big standing ovation to Mikel Arteta and the team. They put out a game plan, they tried to do whatever they can to kind of mask the issues that were caused by absence of Odegaard, by absence of Declan Rice. You could really feel that Declan Rice energy and the legs were missing in the midfield. Creativity wise going forward as well, Odegaard felt quite missing as well. Maybe not as much maybe in this game as well, because we created quite a few chances. It also comes to the fact that they played very high line, so we maybe didn't need as much as creative tool as a very precise pass and maybe taking on opponent, because we could outpace them, maybe we could take them on due to high line, as I said. So that was kind of playing into our hands. The big thing is, without Odegaard, how it will look against teams that press us a bit more, that don't play that high line, and that can't get the job done, because with Spurs again, it's typical Spurs basically. What happened in this game, it was typical Spurs. It's the history of Tottenham, as I said. They hold quite a bit of possession, they try to create, pretty much didn't come almost to anything, but at some points there were some dangerous chances for them. We could have gone down as well, but David Raya again with a phenomenal performance, and I would say arguably for all the 4 games he has played, he has been either man of the match or second to the man of the match, in my opinion, because against Wolves, I would say he was man of the match. Against Villa, he was man of the match, and against Brighton, he was man of the match. Today, he was in the second place running for the man of the match. Man of the match for me was Gabriel. In the first half, yes, there were some issues here or there overall, but at the end of the day, in the second half, he came out. You could see that our midfield is lacking. Jorginho didn't have a very good start for the second half, but he settled into the second half as time went on. But overall, Gabriel in the second half was a different beast. Yes, in the first half, he had a few blocks, he had some passes, he had some good efforts, but in the second half, it felt like he went up another level. Legitimately, he went up another level. He scored a goal, obviously. He made some extra defensive performances, some blocks and everything. He was fantastic today, and he fully deserves to be in man of the match for today as well for Arsenal, in my opinion. The big thing is, though, if we speak about defense, before the game kicked off, it was pretty much announced that Real Madrid scouts, at least one of them, are in the stands to look at Saliba and to look at Christian Romero as well. Real Madrid obviously are exploring some new defensive options, since obviously Rudiger and Alaba are getting on in age and everything, and they're looking some young partner next to Eder Militao. And two of their options are obviously Saliba and Christian Romero. Now the big thing is, if they would have signed Lenny Yoro that Man United got this summer, it wouldn't be an issue, because if they got Yoro, there wouldn't be this talk about Saliba, in my opinion. But since they didn't get him, pretty much they are like a rich kid in a candy store. Real Madrid, it feels like they can go, they can ask for whatever they want, and more chances than not that they will get it. So the big question is who they will go after. That is the big question still to this day. Wonder who scouts paid more attention to. Was it Romero or was it Saliba? All remains to be seen, of course. But overall, at the end of the day, luckily for Arsenal, everything went up top, and that was quite fantastic. Now, I have quite a few notes, to be honest, put down, as you can see. I have 13 notes written down to discuss in this stream. Obviously, after the stream, most likely I will rename it, but at the moment, I will talk about them right now. First things first, it's the injuries. Injuries really hurt us, and not having Odegaard. Obviously, Declan Rice's yellow card was a mishap, but Zinchenko now has an injury. Calafiori has an injury. Tomiyasu has an injury. We had 6 left backs when we went into this season, and at the moment we have actually 1 left back. Well, 2 technically, Timber and Kieran Tierney. The rest of them are injured. Tomiyasu, Calafiori, or Kivior can play there. But overall, yeah, Timber, the way Timber played today as well, with the emotion, the energy, it looked like he's gonna kick things off against Vicario as well at some point, grabbed him by the shirt and everything. Surprisingly, didn't get a yellow. He didn't get a red, only a yellow, which is very uncharacteristic for Premier League, in my opinion, because Arsenal players have seen red cards for those type of actions. But it is what it is at the end of the day. But overall, yeah, that was the first thing, that injuries really are slowing us down. The thin bench, the thin squad in general, the smallest squad in Premier League. If not this game, but in long term will cost us at some point. Because injuries already in a way are piling up, as bad as it sounds. Because if we look at the injuries in general, I have it somewhere stashed here. I liked a tweet. Here it is. It was tweeted by Fabrizio Romano. The injuries for Arsenal at the moment, not available. Tomiyasu, injured. Zinchenko, injured. Calafiori, injured. Tierney, still recovering from injury. Merino, injured. Odegaard, injured. We have 6 injuries, and Declan Rice had a red card. And the biggest thing is, we had 6 left backs as we started this season. Fast forward 4 weeks, and we have 2. How insane is that? Timber and Kivior. It's insane how we got struck by these injuries. But the one thing is, I'm not a believer in many sci-fi type of things, basically like weird power type of things which cannot be explained. But the fact that we last season went without injuries pretty much last year to our main guys and most of the guys, at some point should be evened out, as I like to think universe usually balances itself out. So at some point we could get struck by injuries, and it looks like we have been struck by injuries quite early. And most of them are defenders. Luckily, defensive wise, we have signed so many defenders that it's not that big of an issue. The biggest issue is midfield and attack, in my opinion. Midfield is the biggest worry, because attack we can kind of mix and match and everything. Right wing, left wing, center forwards and that stuff like that. The midfield is the biggest issue, because no backup for Odegaard. Merino as well, he gets injured already. You can see that we are in trouble, especially if Rice gets a red or something like that. Because Partey at some point also can get injured. And then it's again will be curtains. Although Declan Rice then might play in his preferred position, so that could be actually pretty darn good for him. But overall, yeah, the injury issue at the moment is a bit of a yikes situation for Arsenal, because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teenagers on the bench with 3-4 experienced players, the first team players. That is a bit too yikes for my liking. I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm not a big fan of that. I need a pen to kind of checkmark what I have talked about already. So one of them is the injuries. That is a big issue for me. The second issue, obviously what comes with injuries as well, on top of that, is the poor bench. Because our bench was, I don't even know how to put it. Because yesterday I was watching City, and the City's bench compared to Arsenal's today's bench, right? Dude, it's not even comparable. It's like comparing, I don't know, Volkswagen Beetle against Lamborghini Huracan or something like that. It's pretty much incomparable. And if you look at Arsenal's injuries, and most of them are kind of like are exactly the players we are missing, midfielders. Defensively, we are kind of solid. We have defenders to cover positions, but it's the midfield that's the biggest struggle point. Obviously, we were screaming during the transfer window to sign a backup for Odegaard, a striker, backup for Saka and everything. And we didn't sign a backup for Odegaard. The only 2 backups for Odegaard we could technically have in Vieira and Emil Smith-Rowe we let go because, well, Emil Smith-Rowe wanted game time, so we had to let him go. And, well, Vieira, it is Vieira. We are not gonna get into that. The big issue on top of all of this is Saka got subbed off. And that is something you don't see too much in these North London derbies. And Saka got subbed off, I would assume due to a knock/injury he got. And that is for me a big worry at the moment. Because Manieri came on for him, and Saka had that injury. He was sitting on the ground and he didn't return to the game. He was instantly pretty much subbed off. The biggest question is, will Saka be okay? Because throughout every season, there are rumors that Saka is playing through injuries, ankle is bothering him or something like that. And it looks like it might be happening again. Or it might be a bit more serious. It all remains to be seen what's going to happen, what Mikel Arteta is going to say, how the scans pan out. But obviously, on top of all that, we are still waiting for scans on Odegaard and Calafiori. Because we have seen some of them in training, they have discomfort. I'm talking about Calafiori. I think I saw a picture with him in training yesterday. Or I might be tripping, but yeah, we're still waiting on Odegaard scans. Now the question is what is happening with Bukayo Saka, because we have 2 very massive games coming up on Thursday and on Sunday or Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, against City. So that will be a big worry for me. Moving on to next things, we have talked about only 2 of 13 or 14 things I have on here, so it's gonna be a bit of a talk here. So if you have any comments, let me know down in chat and everything. We're gonna talk about them as well. Third thing I wanted to talk about is corner situation, and this is something that it's very hit and miss for me, because Saka obviously delivered a corner that Gabriel Magalhaes scored from, direct assist. And we won 1-0. Set piece FC strikes a gun, smash and grabs, think out the plays, do what you gotta do to get the 3 points. It's the history of Tottenham, basically. They get battered everywhere they go, even if they stay at home. But the biggest issue for me is the Saka on corners. As much as he got the assist, but he had a very average game for me, the corner situation when Saka is on the corner is very big question mark. Because about 6-7 times out of 10 when he crosses the ball, he doesn't get it past the first man. The one corner he got past the first man, we instantly score. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so, obviously. But the fact that corner situation when Saka is on it is a big question mark. definitely cannot be denied in my opinion. The fact that he takes these corners and the first man instantly clears it near post, or he just miskicked the ball where there was a corner when we technically played it short on the ground, yet at the same time it got instantly cleared, is not a good look. It's not a good look, and that is something they either need to work on, or they need to change the free kick taker. Obviously they won't, but there is definitely something to look at that instance. But if we talk about tactics, what Arteta deployed today specifically, we went in 4-2-3-1 in double pivot with Jorginho and Partey in the double pivot roles. Obviously Havertz and Trossard kind of rotated in that number 10, number 9 spot. Overall, they rotated a lot. But overall, when we were defending, to cover the lack of maybe defending prowess with the fact that we have very slow midfield, which showed quite a bit, I'm not gonna lie, during this game, we played very low block in a way. We had all of our 10 outfield players at some points in our own final third. We were very compact. We sometimes just smash the ball out, not even to our player, but just clear the lines. And sometimes it's the best thing to do, like when in doubt, smash it out. That's what gets taught you when you're in like football 101, when you're just learning to be a footballer, especially you're a defender or a defensive midfielder. So that was one thing I definitely noticed. And the fact that we also tried to compensate that for the slow midfield we have. Because let's be real, Partey had a very rough start of the game. He had a very poor start of the game, like most of the players, to be honest, because let's be real, Spurs were at home and they tried to impose their will on us. Many times it worked for them, many times it actually also didn't work for them. It was in favor for us. But overall, the big thing is that every time we took off the ball and we tried to go on counterattacks, it really exposed our midfield. And if we lost the possession, we are lucky that we have very quick defense. Because besides that, our midfield was legitimately run through like hot knife through bar, basically, like straight through. It's similar like it happened against Aston Villa in a way, where Rodgers was running through our midfield. It was just a different game, different tactics. But in this game, every time we tried to hit them on counters and we lost possession, if Timber had overlapped especially, he was pushed quite a bit ahead or something like that, we were very, very open in the midfield and we got run through. And this is my biggest worry when we're gonna play especially Manchester City. Because we won't have Odegaard, so we won't have that creative prowess up front, which will be a very, very detrimental to us. At the same time, hopefully we will have Declan Rice, which should kind of ease the pressure on the midfield, and that low block we might actually in the end exploit to try and maybe keep a clean sheet and then counter them, which I kind of don't want to see in a way. Yes, I want to get points from City away. At the same time, I want us to go for it. Because I just cannot see a way we win Premier League just basically hiding from Manchester City. Because we should be able to go to City, go to toe and produce a decent game. For example, we saw what Brentford did against them. They took the game to them. Yes, they lost 2-1. It could have been, to be honest, like Brentford could have scored about 4 or 5 goals in the first half. Because defensively, City looked very shaky. I would assume that by the time they play us, they will be solid as a rock, most likely. And offensively as well, they tend to waste a few chances. So that is the big issue for me as well overall. But yeah, when I look at these games, it's very, very, very big question marks. Hopefully Rice gets back to form and he's good for us against City. But one thing I want for City game is to go at it. Go to City ground, go to Etihad and just go for it. I don't want to see another game where Arsenal just park the bus and we play out boring 0-0 draw where we try to counter them on some chances. Last season we did that, we got a draw and everything. It seemed like a great thing, but in the end it didn't help us whatsoever. Because in the end, we still managed to mess it up somehow by ourselves, which ended up costing us the title pretty much. So for one instance, I would love to go to Etihad to play against the City and just beat them at their ground, so they know and they kind of understand that we mean business. That is something I would like to do, basically go and make a statement. Will it happen? I'm not sure. Speaking of the referee a bit, he was very card happy. I'm not gonna lie, there were about 7, 8, 9 cards dished out in these games. I think Spurs players had 5, Arsenal players had 3, if I'm not mistaken, so about 8, if I'm not mistaken. Quite a bit of, well, something you would expect in North London Derby. To be honest as well, some of those yellow cards were quite questionable. I'm not gonna lie. Very, very questionable in that instance. So it wasn't a great thing in general. Saliba's yellow card was very soft in my opinion. Someone else had a very someone else had a very bad issue with this. Someone else got Bentancur, or someone else got a very soft yellow. So it is what it is. But yeah, the biggest thing is, the biggest issue for me was not the fact that our players were struggling at times, which would you expect with different tactics, especially since we don't have enough players to kind of use our own tactics, which we use consistently. But I would say that, for example, overall in the game, Raya had a very good game. Timber was very, very good in my opinion. He was decent. Yes, he looked like sometimes he runs around like a headless chicken. At the same time, he got the job done. Whenever he needed to be somewhere, he did it. Whenever he tried to impose, attacking wise, how he was playing in the box and getting the touches in the box, it was quite brilliant to see, I'm not gonna lie. Looking forward to see if he can stay healthy and kinda exploit that more. The biggest issue for me in this game was Benjamin White, who for some instances during the game was very, very questionable. But the biggest issue, again, it wasn't just Martinelli. It wasn't just Martinelli, who, in my opinion, is trying to do too much. He's trying to make very complicated decisions and kind of trying to rush himself to get back into good form. He's kind of pushing it too hard in a way that it's not helping him nor the team. I think he needs to slow down a bit, and he needs to kind of look at everything from the side to kind of figure out what he has to do and how he has to do. Because if he keeps performing like he did today, if he keeps performing like he did in previous games or the last season, next summer, I strongly believe he might be one of the players Arsenal may be considering in selling to buy a proper winger. Because since Martinelli has been here, since Arteta has been here, he has tried to replace Martinelli already on multiple occasions. Because you cannot tell me that you're ready to drop about 80 million on Mudryk and just to be him on the bench, although we dodged the bullet with that when we got Trossard instead. And you cannot tell me we are willing to sign Nico Williams, because Nico Williams is, for me, left winger. And that means if you sign him for about 60 million release clauses, you pay him about 200 grand a week, which you should him be paying, at least, because he's on 180 or something like that at Athletic Bilbao, it means he should be starting. In that instance, it means either Trossard or Martinelli get dropped. And for me, Trossard from the bench is more influential. And if we keep Trossard, for example, and sell Martinelli, we keep the dynamic of one very quick, very pacey, kind of skillful, more on tech type of footballer, and one is more of a more tech, also techy, but very good finisher and very good destroyer, a bit more smarter in that sense, with a much better finishing. So definitely in that instance, I think Martinelli also could get the sack. He might get sold next summer if he doesn't improve his performances, because so far in the last, I would say, year playing for Arsenal, he has been quite shocking. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry if upsets anyone, but that's the way I just see it, in my opinion. But yeah, it is what it is. Moving on, Sterling didn't start. Obviously, he came off the bench. I wouldn't say Sterling had the best of auditions for Arsenal. He couldn't shoot. He didn't shoot properly. He was very questionable. He had a very, very bleak and very, very frustrating start as an Arsenal player. Couldn't place proper passing, couldn't distribute the ball, couldn't shoot. So, yes, I get it. It's only his first game, but overall, I strongly believe that he should be growing into the team at some point. Obviously, remains to see what's gonna be what. Now, set piece situations really bailed us out this time. This is the first set piece goal we have scored this season, which is, I would say it's a good thing, because we should score some set pieces. Last season, scoring from set piece is one of the big reasons why we scored actually 90 plus goals for Arsenal last season. So that is a big reason why we should be doing that, because we have had quite a bit of sorry, my camera just went out of focus. We have had quite a bit of free kick situations during the season already, but nothing came out of it. We barely got a shot even on goal, not even speaking on target, because Aston Villa and Emery had scouted us to perfection. Against Brighton it didn't work, against Wolves also it didn't work, and obviously it worked against Spurs, which is quite interesting, since Spurs are, you could say, one of the worst, if not the worst team in defending set piece situations, and it worked that to our strength for once. Great cross by Saka from corner. Finally, Saka get it past the first man, and we make it 1-0. But overall, one of the big issues for me this game, and we have gotten somehow to point 14, and it has taken me only half an hour to talk about all the points. As you can see, I have check marked them, we have talked about everything, but we're gonna get into some points a bit more in depth after this one, is substitutions. That was a big thing for me, because for me, you cannot see it properly. Here are the substitutions. I think it should be on the screen. Here I want specifically Arsenal substitutions. Arsenal made substitutions. 2 substitutions in 80th minute. 80th? Yeah, 2 in 80th, 1 in 86th minute. I wish that substitutions happened sooner. Jorginho, in a way, looked very much out of his depth, and that was in the second half, at least as it began. It's no wonder that he has the worst rating in general. Saka's injury is a big worry for me at the moment. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that, of course. Stoke City, great win, to be honest, yeah. Bench was shocking. Not gonna lie, if you compare the bench to yesterday's game where City played against Brentford, the bench legitimately is like it's uncomparable, pretty much. Uncomparable. Martinelli, he doesn't just need to improve on his vision. He needs to improve on a lot of things. How he has gotten 8.0 rating on FOTMob, I have no idea, because I would give him a 6. Genuinely, we're gonna get into player ratings in a bit, but I would give him a 6. He needs to improve a lot. He needs to get better at dribbling. He needs to... The biggest thing for me with Martinelli is he is like a speedboat without a driver. He needs to learn how to control the tempo of the game when he has the ball. How to slow down, how to take on opponents, when to rush with the ball, when to run with it, when to pass it back. Because he likes to be like 100 miles an hour straight forward through defender. And many times than not, it is very screwing him up how he looks at Arsenal and how he does for Arsenal. Because he is trying to do too much. He's trying to somehow rush the form back in a way. He's a very bad form. His confidence is in a gutter pretty much. And he's doing too much in hopes that something comes off and he can force the confidence coming back. He's trying to force things too much. He should stick to basics and do things he's just good at. And many times he's trying to do certain things which he shouldn't be doing. And at the moment, it's hurting him more than helping him. And it's hurting the team more than it's helping him. Because the chance he had as well against Vicario when he went through with one-on-one with a chance to square it to Saka, yes, pretty much it was 9 times out of 10 he will open up his body and he will finesse it far corner, because he does that pretty much every single time when he does these things. The thing is, he should be thinking about the fact that goalkeepers also scout the players, attackers specifically they're playing against. So he probably will know that he's gonna do that more often than not. On top of that, he had an open chance to square it across goal for Bukayo Saka. He also didn't that. So if you don't cross the ball to open man, you better goddamn score that goal when you take a shot. Plus, he had a chance to take at least 2-3 steps more ahead. He shot it very early. Either he was afraid that Van de Ven or Porro or someone will catch him up, or he just basically, his composure got the best of him. He wasn't composed enough in that situation, and he just decided okay, I'm just gonna go for it. In an instance where he should have been more composed and kind of hold on to the ball, maybe taken 2 more steps to get closer to the goalkeeper so he has a chance maybe to chip him, maybe to finesse it a bit ahead. Because if you shoot in those situations, you better goddamn score. And more often than not in those situations, you should be try scoring far corner top bins, because lower ends they usually try and cover, especially with the Martinelli when he does those things 9 times out of 10 when he gets in those chances. So it is what it is. Martinelli needs to be coming off the bench for the rest of the season. We need a left. That's the thing. Arteta has tried to replace Martinelli already on multiple instances. He tried to get Mudryk for 80 million. Luckily that didn't work out. We got Trossard. Now that if Trossard is playing down the middle, Who knows who's gonna start? We tried to get Nico Williams. Arteta has tried to replace Martinelli on multiple occasions. And in my opinion, if he doesn't shape up until the end of the season, next summer, he might be one of those guys who's gonna be on the chopping block for getting sold. Because for me, for Arsenal to sign a top-end winger, for example, or a top-end forward, Arsenal need to get rid of one of their so-called top-end players. And in this instance, the sentiment has to go. Because you cannot hold on to sentimental values when you are running a business in a way and going for a title or a cup or whatever. And I think Martinelli at the moment, from all of our attacking players, at least looking through Arteta's lens, how he sees things, in my opinion, he is the most expendable one. That is how I see it, at least. That is how I see it. He's washed. And big up Ash in the chat. He feels that way. At the moment, the way Martinelli is performing, as much as I hate to say it, if you look at him throughout all seasons, this is the one season he had. He's feeling like a one-season wonder. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he gets back to his better self. But at the moment, since Arteta changed the system from the 2 seasons ago to the last season, it has totally screwed up the way we play. At least it has screwed up the way Martinelli should be playing. Because we are not playing as quick, as expansive, as exciting, as dominating. And it has screwed Martinelli up a bit, I think. And that's why he's looking also at a different winger, potentially. Maybe he isn't that good. I think we need to come to terms that, like, what a drop-off. That's the thing. He had one great season. That is the big thing. Rest of the seasons, he has been very questionable. He has also had a few injuries, so he definitely isn't in the best of things. Martinelli fits a team that plays basketball, football. But yeah, for example, I would say, this will sound very weird, but bear with me here. Martinelli fits a team that plays on counter-attacks. He would be perfect in those teams. For example, if you recall the way we signed Pepe from Lille, if Martinelli was playing in that Lille team at that time, he would fit in perfectly. Because at the time, how Lille kind of tried to exploit Pepe was through the lines, behind, dropping the ball behind defenders and making him run at the ball, get the ball in his feet, keep up the pace and take on his opponents. And that's what Martinelli is best at, let's be real. So I think in that instance, he would be good in a team that plays very counter-attacking football because he has a work rate, so he can defend. But if we don't play very counter-attacking football, but since we play possession-based football, Martinelli just doesn't fit the system. That, as weird as pragmatic as it sounds in a way, he just doesn't fit the system, the way we want to play. And that is something similar as well, why I kind of feel like Isak, for example, in a way does not fit Arsenal. Because many times Newcastle try to hit on counters, that he comes in off wing, with pace and everything. But let's be real, 9 times out of 10 when Arsenal play, they are never on a counter-attack. They're holding the possession near opponent's box, passing the ball, triangles, squares, pentagons, hexagons and all that stuff, trying to find some open gaps where to maybe play a triangle, give and go, or something like that. And I don't think Martinelli just fits into that. We need someone with some good tech. And that is the reason why I think we have signed actually Sterling, which at the moment I don't think Sterling is ready to be a starter for Arsenal based on what he did for Arsenal in the 10 minutes he played. Well, 15 technically, with added time. But I think he could be growing into the team. I know I was one of the people who was thinking that Sterling should start. But overall, based on how this game went and how everything developed, I'm lucky that Sterling didn't start. I'm gonna say this now because the work rate Martinelli produces defensively really helped us out on quite a bit of instances. And it kind of maybe also was one of the main catalysts. It stayed 0-0 as long as it was. Obviously, he missed a great chance to score, so that was also the reason why it stayed 0-0 and everything. But overall, so I think maybe longer on the line, or maybe in a few weeks or something like that, I can see Sterling start, but not at the moment. Which also makes the question is what's going to happen with Trossard, because he again is down on the pecking order, which is a big question mark. What's going to happen with Trossard since we have signed another left winger technically. But also on top of all that is the fact that Bukayo Saka came off with an injury today, obviously when Yeri came on. The big question is, how serious is that injury? That is the big question for me at the moment. Is it just a knock? It was precaution and everything before Atalanta game, before City game and stuff like that, or there will be something serious behind it. That is the big question for me at the moment. Not sure how it's gonna go, where it's gonna go, but yeah, that is the big question for me at the moment. Now, moving on into the stream, we're gonna give some ratings, and then we're gonna look at what media is saying about the games and what some sports pundits are saying about the players and some outcomes. I think we have discussed the game, discussed the goal, discussed the players. And now it's time to give out some player ratings. Now, basically, I'm gonna do this straight up. You can see the player ratings that FOTMob has given to the players. Now we're gonna talk about my ratings that I am giving players. So it could be a bit different, obviously. So, obviously, kicking things off with David Raya. David Raya in today's game saved us from going down quite on a few occasions very early in the game. Kept a clean sheet, his ball distribution was decent. He had a very decent game, kept a clean sheet obviously. How many shots did Spurs have? Where are the stats? Spurs had 15 shots, 5 on target. Arsenal had 2 times less. How mad is that? Anyways, 15, so he saved 5 shots. That's what we are saying here. 15 shots, right? So I'm gonna give Raya an 8. I'm gonna give Raya an 8 because arguably throughout the whole season in these 4 games, every single game he has been man of the match candidate. He should have won man of the match in the first 3 games, and in today's game, in my opinion, he was in the second place of being man of the match. Ben White, right back, very rough game. He had some good moments, but overall he had very rough game. He couldn't trap a ball on occasions. He couldn't pass the ball properly. He got skinned a few times. And I think missing Odegaard really is hurting him going forward. But if you think about it, that shouldn't be an excuse in a way. So, being a right back, I'm gonna give him a 6. I'm gonna give Ben White a 6 for the performance. William Saliba got the yellow card, very soft yellow, which shouldn't have been a case in the first case. I think the referee was kind of soft on that regard, shouldn't have given him a yellow. Did good, he got some good tackles, good recoveries. He kind of bailed out Ben White when he basically gave a hospital pass straight to Solanke, and if Solanke kind of squared that further to Son had an open net pretty much. So overall, I'm gonna give Saliba 7. Very good performance. Gabriel gets my man of the match. I'm giving him an 8. He gets my man of the match. Goal, clean sheet. First half, he had good blocks. He had a good game, good passing. He had maybe some questionable moments here or there overall, but that was due to pressure, obviously. But in second half, he came out a completely different beast. Genuinely completely different beast. He was pretty much everywhere defensively. He was blocking, intercepting, clearing. He scored a goal, getting a clean sheet. Now, to be honest, you know what? I'm going to give him a 9. Man of the match, he will get an 8, but since he scored a goal, the game-winning goal, it's a North London derby, I'm going to give him a 9. Jurriën Timber. We are finally starting to see what Timber can do because, let's be real, we didn't see him whatsoever last season. Very good going forward. I liked what he did when we got into opponent's box, how he got the ball, how the interaction with Martinelli, the ball exchanges and everything was great. Defensively, he was doing good. Sometimes, obviously, he felt like he was running around like headless chicken, I'm not gonna lie. But he got a yellow card. To be honest, for what he got a yellow card, it's a completely different story. He kind of showed what is what. Was ready to scrap Vicario on everything. I was generally convinced that there would be a red card in this game. Luckily, it didn't come to that, because if we got another red card, it genuinely would have been kind of mad in our fan base, but it is what it is. But yeah, Timber gets a 7 for me. Timber gets a 7 for me. Thomas Partey, the granddad of the team, was decent. He had some rough spells, I'm not gonna lie. He gave away ball in a few instances where he shouldn't have. He had some decent recoveries on the instance at the same time. You can see that he's a bit off pace, I'm not gonna lie, similar like Jorginho. I'm gonna give a Partey a 7. Yeah, I'm gonna give Partey a 7, decent performance. Jorginho. His ball distribution was decent. He felt a bit out of place at times. I'm gonna tell you that much, for me at least. In the second half, when he started the game, he really felt like he was nowhere. He was like he didn't know where he was standing, what he was doing, and where he should be. That was a mad one for me, how confused he was. So I'm gonna give him a 6. Just also for the yellow card and everything, he was caught out quite a bit. And to be honest, I gave Partey a 7. You know what, I'm gonna give, just like Jorginho, I'm gonna give Partey a 6 as well. Mostly because due to the fact that our midfield was very, very, very open. Very open if we lost the ball in a counter. Our midfield was hella open, and the two players that should be kind of making it very closed up and not letting the ball through. It was very, very open. Sorry. Moving on, Bukayo Saka. Now, here is the big one. He got an assist. Good for that. He got 2-3 good moves in the beginning of the game. Good that. But overall, he was invisible. He was very invisible. Yeah, it might be due to the fact that he doesn't have Odegaard and everything, but for the player that most of the Arsenal fan base hype him up to be and everything, he should be performing. He should be one of the centerpieces of the game. He should be getting the ball and just ripping everyone to shreds. He should be every eyes on him and everything, but there wasn't. Many corners he took didn't get past the first man. He misplaced quite a bit of passes. Yes, he got an assist, all cool, GA and blah blah blah. But overall, poor performance. Saka gets a 6 for me. He gets a 6. And if he didn't get an assist, it would have been a 5 actually, but he gets a 6 for me. Kai Havertz. He had a header, got saved. Tried to link up the play. He never ran out of steam. He was doing pretty decently. He covered space, he covered ground, he made some decent runs, he tried to link up the play, he tried to do the best he can in that 10 spot, but he isn't the number 10, we can all see that. So I'm gonna give Kai Havertz a 6. He's gonna give him a 6. Martinelli, and this is the big one. Martinelli had a very, very rough game. Yes, somehow FOTMob is giving him an 8, but he should have either scored or squared the ball in the one instance. He had some good take-ons, I'm gonna admit to that. He took on some opponents, he got past them. But he's trying to rush things too much for me. He still plays with his head into his knees, which is a big worry for me. He's trying to rush things. He's trying to somehow get out of the slump way too quickly. He should be sticking to basics a bit more. He's trying to overcomplicate certain things and everything. So for me, Martinelli gets a 6. Trossard actually did very decently as a number 9, number 10. They were rotating with Havertz quite a bit during the game, I'm not gonna lie. And for what he did, to be honest, and if Romero didn't hand the ball after Havertz's header, the ball would have gone to Trossard to empty ball tapping pretty much. He was doing good. Yes, there was some questionable issues he did in front of our own end when he tried to take on 5-6 opponents when he got pressed and everything, which is definitely not a good look for him. And he didn't do the best out of that instance, but overall, I'm gonna give him a 6. I'm gonna give him a 6. Could give him 7, but I think 6 is fair. Sterling gets a 5. Jesus, for what he did, also gets a 5, and Vanjeri just played 5 minutes pretty much, so cannot really rate him in that regard. Other news, Arteta has talked about Nicholas Jover, and he has said that he believes he's the best in the field. Which is, to be honest, given how much goals we are scoring from these instances, quite interesting, because it actually has worked. We have scored quite a bit of set-piece goals, obviously, which is a great thing for Arsenal, and that is working like a charm. But we won against Spurs today. If I'm not mistaken, we are sitting at the moment second in the table. You cannot see that because it's kind of in the wrong place. Here we go. We are sitting second in the table. Second in the table. Did Newcastle lose to Wolves or did they get the win? That is the big thing. As I start the stream, it was 1-0 Wolves. Yeah, Newcastle won. Now the big question is, for me, quick check, who scored for Newcastle? It was Fabian Schär and Harvey Barnes. Okay, cool. So, at the moment, Arsenal are sitting second in the table after game week 4. Only 2 points behind Manchester City, which is actually better than were expected given the injuries and given the makeshift team we were putting out against Spurs. And to be honest, the way the team we put out against Spurs was the team I predicted on Friday in the game preview, which is I'm very happy that it kind of came to intuition, and I said that that team should be good enough to beat them. I said it would be either 2-2 draw or 2-1 win. In the end, we won 1-0, so that is good for Arsenal. But the big games are still yet to come, which is a big issue for me at the moment, because Arsenal go away to Atalanta. We are flying to Italy to play Champions League game. Now, at the moment we play on Thursday, I have no idea what kind of team we are putting out. But no matter what team we put out, we need to keep in mind the next weekend we play against Manchester City, where there is quite a bit of riding on this game, I'm not gonna lie. Because winning against Spurs was a necessity. If we don't win against Spurs, it would be a very rough day at Etihad, because we should get a proper result at Etihad. At the moment, after 4 games, we are 2 points behind City. And if we go to Etihad and we draw, we are only 3 points, which wouldn't be the worst. For me, we should finally grow some balls for once in our lives and go for a win at Etihad. Obviously, Etihad isn't the greatest place for Arsenal historically, as we all know in the recent years, especially since Man City have become such a juggernaut in the league. Yet at the same time, we always get peppered there. Last season, against City, we got a draw away at Etihad, and we won at home. Due to lucky bounce, I'll admit, lucky ricochet, deflection, everything, but we got the win. Now, for this year, if we want to really go for the title, for me, we need to put out a proper lineup. I know Odegaard will be a massive miss, but we need to put out a proper lineup and just go for it. We cannot sit back. Obviously, the smart thing to do would be sit back and wait for our chances. But every single year we try and do that, and it bites us in the ass at the end of the season in one shape, way, or form. That is the big thing. Obviously, last year we also started on, I think, on 10 points in the first 4 games. The thing is, our game against City got postponed to the second part of the season. So in a very short span, last year we played City. We won at home and we drew away. But the big thing is, if we lose to City, we have 5 points between us. And then everything gets very, very rough. Because City are playing without Foden, without Rodri still and everything. Haaland is on insane form, legitimately on insane form. He has scored more goals than Arsenal has scored the goals in league overall. And for me, yes, Saliba and Gabriel have pocketed Haaland before. And last season it happened to massive perfection in both home and away games. But for me, we should be winning at Etihad this year. If we want to properly show and put down a statement that we are going for them, that we're gonna win this, we are gonna challenging seriously, we must go to Etihad and win. Because if we draw to them, it's 2 points still. And that is a big worry for me, because City losing games will be a very, very rare occasion. Last year, City lost only 3 games. They drew more games than we, obviously, 2 points. That's why we lost the league. Hello. But yeah, Arsenal lost 5 and draw 5. City lost 3 and draw 7. So basically, those 2 points came from 1 game Arsenal, 2 games Arsenal lost instead of drawing. For us to get a draw and a loss in only the first 5 games would be very, very detrimental to our season long term. Given the games we still have to play in Champions League. Since the Champions League games, there are more Champions League games than ever. So for me, we should be somehow setting up the team that we go for the win. We need to get the 3 points at Etihad. It's a must for me. The question is, can we do it? Will Arsenal and Arteta have the balls to do so? That is for me the big thing, because Arsenal's matches in Premier League don't look too nice. I'm not gonna lie, they don't look too nice if you think about it. Because we have to play City away, which already in a week will be hell on earth next Sunday. Then we have Bolton, then we have Leicester at home, then we have PSG, Southampton. If we want to get the league, we need to win pretty much every single game that is left in Premier League. We need to win Leicester, win against Southampton, and at worst, we need to draw against City so that we are only 2 points behind before the second international break, which kicks off at October 5th. That is the big case for me. We need minimum a draw and the rest of the Premier League games to be wins. The issue with this is we have very rough games in between all of these smaller games. That is for me a big worry. Because Arsenal playing these big games has never been a worry. It wasn't worry under Wenger, it wasn't worry against Arteta in general. Because most of the time when we play against big teams, we know how to pull ourselves together and we know how to pull out the performance more often than not, let's be real. The big issue for me with Arsenal is the smaller games. Because if you look historically at Arsenal, where do we drop the most points? Especially last year in a title race, 2 years ago in a title race. It was Fulham, West Ham, Southampton, all of those teams, Everton. It was all of those teams which we should be beating. Home and away with no questions asked. So we are playing one of those bogey teams in Southampton already. Question is how good they will be. We're playing against Ramsdale as well, by the way. So he definitely will have a point to prove in that instance, definitely. So basically we have 3 games in league, 1 in cup and 2 in Champions League. So in all of these 6 games that we have left, we need to win 5 of them. Only game where I will accept a draw is City. Only game. Because if we win against Leicester and we win against Southampton, we are only 2 points behind. Because then we Arsenal can maybe capitalize off a draw that City will get at some point. Because at the moment, it doesn't look like City is gonna drop points anytime soon. Let's be real. They are a machine, an unstoppable machine. Because after international break, right? We have Bournemouth, Shakhtar, and then again, Liverpool home, Newcastle away, Inter away, Chelsea away, Forest at home. There's an international break between Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. So before the next international break, we have basically Bournemouth away, Shakhtar at home, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Inter away, and Chelsea away. Our away game fixtures that are back to back to back is really, really rough for us. The fixture list definitely isn't very kind to us. So we genuinely, in these games, we might lose everything and gain everything. That is the big thing for me with Arsenal. We can lose, yet gain everything at the same time. Especially about these games. Because when does City have any, like serious games coming on? Let's look at this. Matches. What the hell is this? Manchester City standings. I need matches. You probably won't see this, right? Yeah, damn it. Give me a sec, I'm gonna fix this. More matches. Here we go. Manchester City fixtures that are coming up. And here is the big thing. They play Inter at home. Should be interesting to see what happens to them with that. Then they play us at home. Then they play Watford. Should be light work in the park, like basically walk in the park. And then the same thing for them. Newcastle away, which definitely will be a rough one for them. Let's see what Eddie Howe sets up for them. They have Slovan Bratislava away. We play what? Shakhtar Donetsk, I think it was at home. We play PSG in this match day too. So yeah, they will win that. And the question is, can we beat PSG? Then they have Fulham at home, international break, Wolves away, Sparta Prague, Southampton, Bournemouth. They have very easy fixtures. That's the thing. City have very easy fixtures in the beginning of the season. That is also a big worry. While Arsenal in the first 12 games of the season play all top 6 sides, and on top of that play Brighton, Newcastle, Villa, City play almost none of those. Genuinely almost none of those. They play Chelsea, and that's about it. They will play Newcastle, that's 2, and that's about it. Well, Arsenal have played almost every single one. However, after international break, the crunch time for City starts. That is the big thing. After November international break, the crunch time for City starts because they play Brighton away, and then they have Spurs at home, obviously Feyenoord, but then on December 1st they have Liverpool away, which is nuts for them. Crystal Palace away, okay, but again, Juventus, then they have United at home, which will be nuts. Villa away. They have the rough fixtures basically towards the end part of the year, early next year. Arsenal have all of that squeezed in till December basically. So Arsenal will play all of those games pretty early, and then we will see where Arsenal stand on that ground. The big question is, will Arsenal be close to City when we have played all of these matches, but City still have all of these big matches to come? That is the big question for me at the moment, of course. Now, what are people saying on in other instances? What's in the news articles? Set piece goal, he could not continue. Oh, we are talking about Bukayo Saka and Bukayo Saka injury. This could be bad. He could not continue. Mikel Arteta provides Bukayo Saka update ahead of Manchester City clash. Oh, strap in for this one. Strap in for this one. The Arsenal manager has provided an injury update on Bukayo Saka ahead of next weekend's clash with Manchester City. So we are ignoring Champions League by the looks of things on this article. Despite a long injury list which include the likes of Merino, Odegaard, Arteta was able to lead his side to victory in the North London derby on Sunday afternoon. Kudos to him. Good job. With Jorginho and Thomas Partey anchoring the midfield in a double pivot, Leandro Trossard played in behind Kai Havertz with Gabriel Martinelli and Saka operating out on the wings. Okay, cool, good for that. The system managed to do its job, and despite some bumps in the road, was able to stifle the Spurs press and the second half in the Lily White's backline daringly stepping up. Although fans were delighted with the win, there's a potential dark cloud looming on the horizon with Saka being forced off late in the contest, and this is the big worry. Now, where was it in the contest? The English winger went down unexpectedly and limped off the pitch with young academy star Ethan Vanieri, and I've just noticed you cannot see the full article. Good job, me, I guess. Let me let's do it like this. Ethan Vanieri taking his place outright on the hand side. With the injuries already piling up and the clash with Manchester City at Etihad awaiting the side next week, a potential injury to Bukayo Saka could be disastrous. And that is the big thing. Throughout the whole transfer window, I was screaming to sign a striker, backup for Saka, backup for Odegaard, and because what if they get injured? And all these what ifs slowly but steadily are starting to come true. And this is something where our season can unravel on such a massive scale that I would think big part of Arsenal fanbase is not ready. It already was a mini meltdown when Odegaard was injured, Declan Rice had a red card, and we didn't know what could be our starting 11 with Calafiori's injury and all that stuff. Now imagine if Saka gets injured. That is the big issue. Speaking after full time, Arteta revealed the status of the 23-year-old, stating that he could not continue the game. I don't know, the Spaniard said in his press conference. I made 2 changes with the front players and suddenly he's down. I don't know exactly what it is, but he could not continue. And this now is a big worry. Obviously, it could be nothing. It could be just a knock, massive cramp or stuff like that. But the fact that Mikel Arteta usually is never this open in interviews about injuries. He usually says, oh, it was a precaution, oh, he was this, oh, he was that, oh, and la, yeah. He never says things like, he could not continue. He has never said it. He usually beats around the bush, he never says it straightforward as it is. And if he says it, if he's saying this straightforward, either is he blowing smoke to kind of throw City off, or, and Atalanta off by the way, or he is very frustrated with something that has happened and the fact that club hasn't provided a backup in the transfer window. One of these two. Because the fact that Mikel Arteta has spoken so freely, so openly in a way about the fact that Saka is down and he could not continue the game and he had to be forced to be subbed him off, definitely is not a great thing. This is something now that it's gonna be on every Arsenal fan's mind until certain news start to come out. Now this could be big for Arsenal. And I hope it's not. I hope it's nothing. Yet at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit scary. It's a big panic hours already. Anything new in the mirror? Something different? Because this will be a big focal point which could revolve around the tomorrow's stream where we speak about Bukayo Saka and his injury. Bless me, and his injury. So let's see what is the mirror saying in this regard. No thanks. Mikel Arteta admits he doesn't know how Bukayo Saka is shaping up after he was first off with an injury issue. Oh bloody hell, this is going down real quick. This is going down. I don't know, I made 2 changes, he's down. I looked at the bench and the options that we had and we had to adapt. Oh, here we go. This is a bit of a passive-aggressive answer where you call out Edu and the ownership for not providing the proper players. I looked at the bench and the options that we had and we had to adapt. This is him saying between the lines that they haven't provided him the proper players he wanted to have proper depth in the team. 100%. I don't know exactly what it is, but he could not continue. Obviously, we have to play against City, against Atalanta in the Champions League, and then we have City. So the big question is, will Saka be ready? Will Bukayo Saka be ready? Because at the moment, it's looking like scary hours. It's looking like scary hours. Bukayo Saka actually could be injured. I don't like this. I genuinely don't like this because Arteta, as I said, never is so open about the fact that one of his guys is injured. He usually beats around the bush, as I said, and says that it was a precaution or something like that. But here he says he was down, he could not continue, and we was pretty much forced to sub him off. We will have to wait. We're still waiting for the final verdict on Odegaard's injury, to extent of Odegaard's injury. So what's gonna happen now? We have also Bukayo Saka now on the cards. Will he be injured? For how long if he's injured? Or will he be fine? Because rumors are going around that he already is playing with a bit of a knock. So this is definitely not looking good for Arsenal. Oh boy. Even in a victory, we suffer a defeat in a way. This is not good at all. Not good at all. But obviously, it all remains to be seen what is what. But you know what? For today, that will be it. So of course, if you're new around here, smash thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell. You're a real one if you're here. Big up TB in the chat. Big up Pepper in the chat. You seen this? You saw the thing? You saw the article? The fact that Mikel Arteta is so open, it's nuts. I'm late. Big up. We'll watch play. Thanks. But yeah, Bukayo Saka looks like he might be injured. He was forced to be subbed off. Mikel Arteta saying he could not continue. Wheels are slowly falling off, especially since we are still waiting on Odegaard's injury announcement. How serious is that injury? Calafiori didn't play and everyone, so it's more up in the air than ever. And what's going to happen with Bukayo Saka? Still have no idea what's going to happen with Bukayo Saka. I'm very, very confused in this regard. Very, very confused in this regard. What's going to happen? What's gonna happen? My prediction from July sadly coming true of injury. Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking the same thing. At some point we're gonna get hit with injuries. The question is, will we be prepared for that? And that's why throughout the whole transfer window I was screaming for backup for Odegaard, backup for Saka, striker and everything, and we did none of that. And now we are just here. Basically here. That's the big thing. Now the question is what's gonna happen with that. But anyways, guys, I think on that note, we won the battle today, but I fear we are losing the war. Exactly, that is a big thing. Even in a victory, we are suffering a defeat of some sorts, and that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. But it is what it is, I guess. We will have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. But on that note, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. All the real ones, TB, Ash, Henry, big up Pepper in the chat. You have been fan freaking fantastic. If you're new around here, don't forget to smash thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell. You have been fan freaking fantastic. Take care. Stay safe. Have a great evening. Have a great new week tomorrow. And see you all tomorrow as well.